Thanks for stopping by the Noisy Chair podcast. And to let everyone know why the creation of the Noisy Chair happened, well, people wanted to share their story, concerns, and being loud. Well, I'm here to listen, have an opinion, and talk to people. That's what this is all about. My name is Dave, aka DJ Dave. Love being part of a new journey with amazing people on my podcast. I think you're a diva in many ways, but in a good ways, not dramatic divas,
I
here
love
she
you,
comes,
exactly.
So great to finally have you as a co-host. Welcome to this edition of the Noisy Chair podcast, sponsored by our good friends at Connected by Sound, episode number 9. We're closer to number 10, so it's great. And here with me today is a great friend of mine, Michelle Deeva. Great to have you here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. It's good to be with you.
Finally, we are here, loud and proud to be part of a great platform, for artists, entrepreneurs, whoever to talk to and share stories openly. That's what this Noisy Chair is about. It's about being loud. It's about being open. It's about being yourself. We talk openly and candidly about a lot of shit. So, and we can say and do what we want to do on our podcast. So I'm glad you're here. The podcast today is about you and I just shooting the breeze and topics, discussions about anything. We'll keep it raw and interesting because I know you like to keep it interesting. That's how you are.
Keep it raw.
Keep it raw, for sure. But yeah, listen, I normally have guests on the show that always share their journey with music, and today, I got you on board because we never really got to connect and for everyone to know and just to be straight up with each other and talk about stuff and, you talk about how you grew up and where you grew up to. So, listen, tell us a bit about yourself, Michelle, the diva.
Well, I got the name Deeva from a roommate of mine. Mm-hmm. That I had for a few years, and he was a very good friend of mine. And some people are not direct. I find, especially in Canada, and I'm not going to do the whole U.S. versus Canada thing, but I did grow up in California. I did grow up in the U.S. and I've always been raised to speak my mind, to to stand up for myself. To be me, even if I felt ridiculous leaving the house, but I really, really, really liked this hat. I remember there was this hat that I wanted to wear so bad to school, and my dad was driving me, and I was like, Dad, I'm kind of embarrassed. Like, do you think kids are going to make fun of me if I wear this hat? And he was like, No, Michelle, you wear what you want to wear. You do what you want to do. And I'll never forget that because my parents always instilled that in me is just be you. It doesn't, who cares? Don't listen to, nowadays we call them the haters, right? Mm-hmm. Back then, I don't know what we called them, but it's the same thing. Don't listen to people who are, who want to make fun of you because of a hat or something. If you feel good wearing it, wear it. So in any case, that's how my roommate noticed that about me, and how I will call it like it is, and I will say it like it is. And if something's bothering me, I will bring it up, and I will be very direct about it too. And that's just that's what I appreciate from people. And that's, how he,
as you should be,
I agree.
Right?
I totally
some people might not like it. We call, like you said, haters. I call them fucking idiots. I don't really give a shit.
Well, that's what my dad would call them. Yeah, exactly.
Right. So
hooligans.
Hooligans. Whatever's going to be. I guess we're all going to get that. There's, and who cares? Like you said, it's all for yourself. Do what you want to do. Wear what you want to wear. Say what you want to say. That's. You remind me of my niece because my niece is exactly the same way. She is, she's I think 12 years old, but she has got she's very, very opinion minded, and she does what she wants to do and doesn't care what she wears. That respectively, and that's what I love about her. She doesn't really care. So, which is great for you. I like it. You were heavily into music. Music has been a huge part of your life, and obviously growing up, you've had an influence from your dad way back when, and tell us a bit about that.
Well, I just remember being a kid. I mean, music has always been a big part of my life. And later on, I found out from my dad, like after I had, and we'll talk about this, but after I started working in radio, I was talking to my dad about this. And my dad said, "Oh, I used to interview bands too." And I was like, "Are you serious?" I had no idea. And it was a new level that we could connect on. Because I was like, "You
Wow.
did?" And he's like, "Yeah, I met the Go-Go's, and like I used to interview people backstage and stuff." And I was like, "Dad, how come you never told me this before?"
Right.
Because what a connection there. But yeah, I remember. I mean, when I'd be with my dad, he would always listen to the vinyls, like Queen and a lot of rock and roll.
Nice.
And I was excited by the artwork that I would see on the album covers. So I'd always
For
be sitting
sure.
there flipping through them, right? And going,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, wow, that's really cool. Wow, that's dark. Wow, that's cool." And it just, it made me realize at that time too, like how important art is to me too.
Right.
Like I always
Sure.
looked at things from a another level, another
Mm-hmm.
perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So I enjoyed the music that he was playing, but I was really into just, "Oh, who is this artist, Dad? Where do they come
Right.
from? What do they do? What else do they do?" I guess, some people say that you're born with an inquisitive mind,
Sure.
but I've always been inquisitive, and I've always wanted to learn more about music, and not necessarily the instrument part, but
Right.
just the making of the person. How did they get
That's
there?
awesome. Of course. That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
You don't get that too often from people saying, they love music but they enjoy doing the instruments, or like, with me is I've never had an instrument. I played an instrument. I always wanted to, but I love music because I love the DJing of music. I love curating music. But yours is fantasy is like amazing because it's like you are, you love music for who the people are that created the music.
I do. Isn't that weird? Like,
Yeah.
I know when I think about it
It's
now
different.
too. Yeah.
It's different. I like it. I like
Yeah.
it. Speaking of different, I'm actually drinking this strawberry beer. It's
Mm.
actually pretty cool. Really, I found it in my wine cellar. And I'm like, I'm going to try this out tonight. So I do like it. Actually, it's a strawberry wheat beer, which is kind of cool. But I'm steering off to the difference part of it. But let's go back to you again.
It's okay. I got to get to your wine cellar because that sounds like fun. Oh, I think I'll try this tonight.
Yeah, if my wife doesn't go and grab a couple bottles for herself, I'm just kidding. No, it's pretty cool. Wine is a big part of our culture on weekends. Not during the week. We try to be clean during the week, but whatever. Podcasts, I'll have a drink and speak to awesome guests and friends such as yourself. So it'd be kind of cool. But listen, going back to how you were back then, your dad, was into music and how he wanted to how he did interview other bands and artists. I mean, like that's and didn't tell you about it.
Yeah,
And
I know,
when
right?
when he knew that you were into music, it's like, I thought he'd be like, "Hey, Michelle, like I fucking interviewed this person, this band," and you're like, "Oh my god, this is great," That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, I didn't find that out until years later, and the thing is that my dad and I have always had a close relationship, but
Mm-hmm.
I think and that's where, like, he can talk on deep levels, and that's where I get that from, that
Right.
philosophical side and
Mm-hmm.
stuff. But when it comes to really like connecting and go, with a person and saying,
Right.
"Oh yeah, yeah," like I actually had that experience too. No, that's something I developed on my own. Like,
Mm. Yeah, exactly. Yes. Yeah, I think so too. And
because I do a lot of that. I like to get to know people.
you know what? And you think you do know somebody, and whether you do or don't, like I never show a negative side if I don't know anybody. I just go along with it and enjoy the company of that person. But you tend to as far as I know, you like to get to know that person, and then you just go right in, and it's like, okay, I like this trait about you, and this, and we do this, and it's cool because that is something that you don't get a lot of people doing, taking the reins on things, jumping into this, knowing what you're doing, knowing this person, and it's kind of cool to know you and watch you in action with other people too. So I sit back and I watch it sometimes, and
That's so
and
cool.
just to get that. And I think yourself being part of the radio scene and being part of the open aspect of music, and just meeting a lot of people, you get that, you're a people person, right? So you get along with everybody and anybody. It doesn't matter who they are, color, race, gender. It doesn't matter who the fuck they are. You always will get along with somebody. You don't judge anybody. You just do your thing and do your thing. So, which I like.
That's so beautiful. Thank you.
No problem. This
and
is.
I didn't pay you.
Should have thought about that. No, but no, it's all good. I mean, that's why I gravitated to some of your aspects of where you do business and branding, and because I feel that you and I are in a same level. We're both entrepreneur like in our head. We always think about things that we can do to expand our brand or build a brand, right? And always try to find ways of A, making money, B, branding, C, having a great time doing it, and meeting a lot of people doing it. And so I feel that you're like the same way, and we can feed off certain things that we talk about, off camera, whether it's, for a drink, we'll talk about how to do business, or whether it's online. And I love that. That's what really, because I have multiple businesses, and it's cool to, to have someone like yourself asking questions about business, and, and not just saying, "Oh, what do you do for a living?" That sort of stuff. I like people who get involved in it, right?
Boring.
And it's just like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? So, but with the radio side and yourself, when you were, and I don't want to bounce around a lot, but I mean, we'll talk about the radio side. But where were you born and raised? First of all,
California. So Los Angeles, California,
Mm-hmm.
and that I would say, because it's funny, because sometimes when I like talking about other people, and I like raising other people, like you were
Right.
just you said a bunch of nice things right now, and I wanted to jump in and go, oh my God, but you're so good at business, Dave, and that's what I thrive off of. I'm like, yeah,
Right.
I'm hungry, feed me more,
Yeah, for sure.
but
For sure.
growing up in California, in
Mhm.
LA, is a huge part of me, because it's true what they say, that in California and LA, there's so much to do, and there's access to so many things. And
Mm.
even though I spent I spent a lot of my high school years, like my teenage years and
Yep.
growing up in California, I was
Mhm.
old enough to go see a band at a high school, or go see a band at a swap meet, as we called
Right.
them,
Yeah.
and they'd be free, and it'd be
Right.
so much fun. And when I came to Canada, I realized that, wow, there isn't so much of that going on all the time, right?
No. But
But
wait, hold on. Let's back up a little bit. Swap
yeah,
meet. What do you mean by swap meet?
yeah. So at the swap meet, I think it's actually mentioned in some rap songs, but
Yeah, to me, I think swap meet's like like a car, or like a car meet, like swap meet parts, but yeah, I think yours is a little different than that.
So in Los Angeles, especially, there's swap meets every weekend, and what it is basically like an outdoor flea market. But
Right.
it's huge.
Right.
You've got vendors selling
Mm.
pants and shoes and housewares and all that kind of stuff. So imagine a flea market, and because it's California, it's
Yeah.
outside, right?
That's
And
awesome.
under
That'd be kind of
tents.
cool. Yeah.
So cool, Dave, because then they would also bring artists in. They would bring,
Right.
like, I remember I saw Stacy Q,
Oh,
um,
wow.
and I was shocked. And I think Stevie B even played at the swap meet. And this was all free. You just go, the swap
Wow.
meet brings them in. And it's funny because even back then, I've always been a very just and I praise God for it, but I mean, I've always been marketing minded, right?
Hmm.
So when these bands would show up, I'd be totally excited to see them, but I'd also be thinking, how did they get them here? Like, how do you make that connection, and then how do you negotiate that, and how do you decide, oh yeah, I'm going to bring this band because this would be a great target market for that, and all that kind of thing. I drive
Sure.
myself crazy. Yeah.
No, but I just like, but I like the way you just said that because, I think the same way, when, you find celebrities at, local places, and like, how did they get in contact with them? Right. It's like no different than me trying to, send out emails and contacts to a bunch of big name, DJs and producers and artists and celebrities, and I get fucking nothing. I got crickets on the other end of my
Mhm.
emails, right? But I send it. Sometimes I get people that say, "Hey, listen, you know what? They're busy. They're booked up for this year, or they'll want money, to come on the podcast." And I'm like, okay,
Oh
listen,
my god.
but I get what you're saying. Like, how do you get that? How does that person get on that show and negotiate and be there? But I love that flea market style vendor, grassroots,
Mm,
selling of everything and anything, and there's music in the background and shit. We should have that here. We
right?
should have that, right? Like there was the 400, they had the 400 flea market up in Barrie, but
Mhm.
that closed down because obviously they sold the land for resident for building, right? So,
Mm.
but we need that again. I like
Oh
that
boy,
idea.
you got my mind ticking.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. There's that entrepreneur, is like, hey, we should
Yeah.
do something about that.
Mm. Exactly, and things have changed a lot too,
Big time.
obviously, over the years, like in the way that people promote things online and offline,
Right.
right?
Right.
I mean, yeah, there's so many directions I can go here. I'm trying to keep,
No,
trying to keep
of
on
course. No.
topic.
Hey, listen, that's what this is about, man. We're just shooting the shit, shooting the breeze, and you were in LA, so you were in LA with your brother, obviously, right?
With my brother and my mom. So my parents divorced when I was 5.
Hmm.
Um, this is a good experience though, because my dad and my mom have remained best friends like to this day, like since
Awesome.
they divorced. Yeah,
Wow.
huge. That taught me a lot, about yes, you can have a platonic relationship, good relationship with a man.
Hmm.
Yes, you can break up with someone, and if they're good people, one thing my dad always taught me is keep good people close. And if they're a good person, which I'd like to say that most of the people that, that I've dated and broken up with are good people. It just doesn't work
Hmm.
out. It
Right.
doesn't mean that you have to throw that person away. It
Right.
doesn't mean that that person is a bad person. So
Right.
that really taught me, that okay, yeah, you can still have a good relationship after it's dissolved.
Hmm.
um, so I grew up living with my mom. My dad
Yep.
is Mexican. So my
Mhm.
dad speaks a lot of Spanish with my family. Long story short though, I was too stubborn to learn Spanish. My last name is Hernandez, and
Hernandez.
and it's the joke in radio, because and we'll get into that, but the
Yeah.
radio show that I had, Super Latin Hits, the joke was that I'm Michelle, I don't speak Spanish Hernandez. you know so
It goes perfectly. Oh, I love that.
right.
I love that.
Exactly, and it's like, and it's so me too, because again, to make a long story short, even when I was doing the Latin show, I was going out on weekends going to golf clubs. So it
Yeah.
was,
Okay.
that's so Michelle though, because it's like,
Right.
I don't like to. I'm just gonna do what I want to do and what I feel, right?
Right.
But yeah,
Right.
growing up in California, my parents, I spent a lot of time with both parents. I had close relationship with both of
Hmm.
them, um, and I was just around a lot of inspiration. But also, I was an only child for a really long time because my brother was born, I think, when I was 13.
Okay.
So I was an only child for like 13 years,
Wow.
right? So I had to come up with my own ways to get creative. I had to, talk to myself, right? I had to, no, but it's
A lot of
true.
people do that anyways. You know.
Well, it's so true because I noticed too, like nowadays, like at our age, when you talk to people and everything, you notice a difference between people who grew up with siblings and people
Hmm.
who grew up as only children, and not just the quote unquote bad parts. I mean, people like I'm very independent,
Hmm.
so like
Right.
I'm the kind of person that I'm cool with going to Indigo and hanging out by myself and reading a book. I love that. I love going on walks by myself. I don't always have to go with someone. In fact, I
Right.
prefer it by myself. But I think a lot of that attributes to being an only child for so long,
Mm.
because you grow up relying on yourself. You grow up entertaining yourself,
Sure.
and that imagination.
Right.
And I'm thankful for that because it makes me who I am today. But
Hmm.
my brother popped into the picture when I was 13. Damn him. But because then I had to share everything, right? And really, like, you don't realize until that happens after being, a only child for so long, that, oh man, like I have to actually share time with my parents with this kid, you know. But that's also where I think I get a lot of my nurturing side from,
Right. Okay.
is because there's that huge age gap, and I,
Hmm.
I I like making sure everybody's okay, and watching over my brother. I had to, basically, to make a long story short, again, is play like a second parent to him.
Right. Yeah, you almost
So
have to. You almost have to.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was California, and then
Hmm.
like what happened in California was that I went to high school there. I was super excited. I went to a private Christian school first.
Hmm.
Um, it was a good experience. It was a great experience because it taught me a lot of values and whatnot. But I was dying to get on my own, and I called up the Aries in me or the Michelle in me, but I just
Aries. Big up to
be
Aries.
free.
Big up to
Yeah,
Aries.
exactly, right? Exactly, you Aries
Yeah.
man. Exactly.
We're all hard headed, so we're stubborn. We're stubborn.
And we need to be free. We need to be,
Right.
let me be myself.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
Hmm.
that's what I did, like for a while, is just really, over the years I've really grown into myself. And
Hmm.
oh gosh, there's so many topics that we could cover, but yeah.
Well, like what happened in California? Why did you move?
Well, my mom ended up marrying a guy, who is a lot younger than her, and he basically, he turned out to be a deadbeat.
Mm.
So, to put it frankly,
Right.
that again too, that experience taught me a lot.
Hmm.
My mom fell in love with this guy, and and he seemed like a great guy and everything. But as soon as they got married, and then she had my brother, he decided to bail. He was like,
Mm.
this is too much for me. I don't, I
Wow.
want to go back to mommy's. So he actually moved back into his mother's. And then I know, right? I know, another topic. And then,
Man.
and I'm being a teenager watching all of this on the
Yeah.
outside, right? Well, on
Yeah.
the inside, but really from an outside, child's
Yeah.
perspective, and kind of seeing this, and learning from it. And then my mom decided, you know what, we really need a change. Like, she was born and raised in Canada. So, and my grandfather was here.
Hmm.
Um, so we decided, she was like, I think there's going to be a better life there. I come from also a native background,
Hmm.
Aboriginal background.
Hmm.
At the time, I was really fortunate because my schooling was paid for, like my secondary
Oh,
education.
wow. Cool.
Yeah. So that's how my mom sold me on it, right? You'll be
Right.
able to go to college and all this and all
Right.
that. So she decided to uproot us. Let's go. Let's go to Canada. And it was so cute because I remember the very last day there in California. It was a tumultuous time, to be honest.
Hmm.
I mean, you're taking a teenager uprooting them, when they're
Yeah,
meeting
no
all their
shit, exactly.
friends and,
Yeah.
getting their own life and everything. And then it's like, okay, we're moving to Canada. And we'll get into this, but Brantford of all places. So Six Nations Reserve of all places, like Viva
Yeah,
la difference.
yeah, yeah.
So and I was just like, okay, but I remember that last day I had this friend that lived in our apartment building, and he followed the car. It was like a movie. He followed the car when we were leaving, and we stopped for
Oh
gas
no.
across the street, and he actually ran there. And he said,
Oh
I
my
just wanted
god.
to give you a hug goodbye. But it was
Oh
cute. It
jeez.
went those
That's cute.
childhood memories.
You still see that guy? You still talk to him?
No, no, I found him on Facebook a while
Yeah.
ago, and I was super happy and excited for him because I saw him with like another woman, and he was like, well,
Yeah.
and he
Yeah.
looked happy and everything,
Yeah.
and he looked good too. Because
Yeah.
I mean, when you're a kid and then you look at somebody years later, you're
Right.
wondering how they developed.
No kidding.
But
But I
very
tell you,
handsome.
yeah, you could I tell you, you can find everybody on Facebook. Like you can find everybody. If you look for somebody, you could just find somebody on Facebook. Chances are they're going to be on Facebook.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's pretty funny seeing
And it's
that. And
exciting. It's exciting a lot of times because you're
well,
like, ooh, Hey, I have a question for you, Dave.
yeah.
So, okay. So you're married. If you
Mhm.
see somebody on Facebook that say you used to have a crush on or something like that, how do you feel about reaching out to them? Like, does that make you feel strange?
You know what? I wouldn't reach out to them. I would see who they are. I mean, no, actually, I don't even know. Sometimes it comes up on your like, on your feed
People
that
you might know.
people you might know because they have this person. The algorithm's all fucking
Oh
crazy how it
yeah.
matches shit around, right? So there wasn't really too many crushes that I had, but like girls that I had, we were friends, and then there was a falling out or we moved. What, they're on there, but I won't reach out and friend them. If they friended me or they chatted up with me, say, "Hey, how's it going? How's things? Long time no see." Yeah, maybe I'll strike up a conversation, back. But to answer your question, no, I wouldn't go. I wouldn't
Yeah.
reach out. Yeah, I wouldn't reach out. I'd
Yeah.
creep them. I'd creep them. I admit, I'd creep them and see what they're up to. But but I wouldn't go any further than that.
We've all got that little nosy person in us, of course. I mean,
Of
yeah.
course we do. Of course we do. But no, listen, I'm cool. I'm happy. So it's all good. But it's funny just to see, A, who they married, or B, if they're
Yeah.
married, or C, whatever they may be. It's always curious. I'm always curious to find out about people and, how their lives were like. And I never judge anybody on anything that,
Totally.
yeah, I'm not into that. It's kind of cool just to find out what they're up to and see what they're talking about. But I wouldn't reach out and friend them or chat with them. If they did to me, I would engage back.
But there is a bit of a difference there because, I mean, like even when you mentioned that, you'll get somebody and you might know this person through different connections. Because I grew up in California, a lot of
Mhm.
the people who I knew in California are not going to be friends with people who I know in Toronto, in
Right.
Canada. They
Right.
they don't even know each other exists, right?
Hmm.
So it's always been, on the whole Facebook thing, it's always been really interesting for me to look up people in California that I went to school with or something like that because then I'm remember the first like love of my life, right? Who's now gay, but
Did you not do
yeah.
your job right? Holy moly! No, I was kidding.
Oh,
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I know. Well, he's like happily married now, so
Cool.
which is
Awesome.
very good. But it was so good to touch base with him because we had so many stories to share, like when we ran away together and all this. And ironically, we had talked about running away and getting married in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
We were like grade 10 or something like that, right? But
Jeez.
but it was cool. But I kept looking for him, and he was never showing up in my feeds. And guess what? Or not in my feeds, but in my searches. The
Hmm.
reason why is because he had taken his husband's last name. So
There
I
you
was like,
go.
"Oh, okay." But it was super cool to be able to touch base with someone like
Oh
that,
my
but
God,
I
sure.
had to do the work. But that's me, my journalistic mind, right?
Well, there you go. So like you got into journalism, right? So
Yep,
and it's that gets you the digging and finding shit out and
yep,
you know like
yep.
it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. So you went into so you got into the college. So now when did you think? Now did you always want to pursue music as a career? Like when you went to college, it was music. Did you know that music was going to be part of your
I always knew
academic?
that. Sorry, hon. I
No, no, go ahead, man.
always I always knew that radio was a part of me and that I
Right.
was going to work in the radio media industry. Even when I would go to like these little events and the swap meet and stuff, people would come up to me and I was just a kid and they'd be like, "Oh, do you work here? Do you work with the artist?" And it's crazy because I had forgotten about that until now, like until today. And I was like, "Oh yeah, people used to come up to me and think that I was part of the event." And it's
Hmm.
weird when you look at signs and stuff like that too. It's like, "Yep, that's always been in me." Yep. And so I always knew that I wanted to work with talent. I wanted to work with artists.
Right.
Um, I wanted to work in radio because back in the day, I was a huge fan of K Rock, and K Rock was like my life back then in California,
Yeah.
which was a huge station.
Right.
And I'd always listen to their interviews and stuff, and I loved just listening to interviews and everything. And so when I came to Canada and I graduated from high school, I got into both radio and to journalism, and I
Hmm.
decided to go the journalism route because I didn't want to be on the air. I wasn't interested in being the talent or anything. I always wanted to be, the creator behind it. And I
Right.
thought journalism would be the right thing. But then I got
Mhm.
into journalism and the classes that I really sucked at, oh my God, it got down to grammar and the technical parts of things, right? Like I
Right.
remember even in English, my teacher had told me, Michelle, have you ever thought about being a Harlequin romance writer? And
Hey,
I
I'm
was
telling you, you know what? You have that skill of writing and speaking and imagination, which is cool, That's awesome.
it was yeah, I mean, and at the time I didn't know how to take it, right? Because this is my English teacher and everything's,
Right.
about punctuation,
Oh
da, da,
yeah.
da, da, all the dry stuff, right? I call it dry stuff. I know, but
Hmm.
but and then when he had said that, I was like, oh, but deep down inside, I was thinking, yeah, because I can't, I like to get creative. I don't like
Sure.
things the norm, the same old, same old. But
Right.
so during journalism school at Humber, I realized that every weekend I'm going to CFMY. I'm going to the station. I'm talking it up with the DJs, the
Yeah.
announcers. I'm talking. My big thing was I needed to learn how their promotions worked. Like
Mm.
honestly, I think I was the only one in my class in radio school that wanted to get in the sales and marketing side of things.
Okay.
So
It's fair. It's okay.
I remember like hitting up the promotions guy and the marketing guy and just talking to them about how did you put this together? Oh wow! So how did you get this going? Where did you start? Right?
And they're like, "Who is this? What are they? What? Why do they
Right?
want to be interested in my work?"
Yeah, they're not used to people. The
Right?
DJs are used to that. you know
Oh yeah.
exactly. So and then I realized, you know what, Michelle, you're spending a lot of time on the radio side of things. Like that's where you live your life on the weekends. Why
Right.
didn't you get into radio? So then I decided to switch over to radio and then do the 2 years in radio. Um, and that was cool. And then the last year of radio, like normally what happens in school is you have to set up your internships and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I was introduced to this amazing woman, Magda De La Torre, and she was actually partners with Manuel Canales, who was the general manager of Energy 108.
Okay.
But Magda, she always liked to do things independently. She was a very independent woman. And when she got an idea, she went after it. And that spoke my language, and I admired it, and it inspired me, because she would come up with
Sure.
these ideas, right? Like, okay, so like one thing she taught me too, and one thing I learned it on my own in radio too, is that it's not about getting on the air or being a famous name or anything like that, which thank God that was the case, because I was more into behind the scenes stuff. I
Right.
like behind the scenes stuff, but is that it's about the idea and the concept, and is it sellable? Is it marketable? Who's that target market? Now, how are you gonna target them? And how is that gonna bring money to the station? It always boils down to that.
Right.
Not are you a great announcer and do you play great
Mm-hmm.
music? It always boils
Right.
down to how are they gonna make money with it? What can you give to the head honchos?
Love it. I love it. That's exactly how I would approach it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, for sure,
Love
man.
that stuff. And that's what Magda was all about. Like she really, and I was very fortunate to be in the position of, because I got hired to be her basically right hand woman, which was a great opportunity, just like right before I graduated, because again, it was like everything was aligning. That's exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to be in the concept, the creative part of everything. Later on, I ended up getting stuck on the air, because they were like, and that's the other thing about being an entrepreneur, is you get good at everything. Like you do.
Yeah.
And you're also working with a limited budget as an entrepreneur.
Right. Exactly.
So you kind of have to learn how to do everything.
Bingo. Oh yeah.
So that was, it was exciting. It was great being able to transition and learn from her for a few years, how she did things and how her mind worked. And it gave me strength. Then they ended up putting me on the air with Energy 108, which Manuel had ran Energy 108, and we did Super Latin Hits, and that's where I met G Money. So
Awesome.
yeah, and G, like, so this was years ago, and I remember when G was introduced to me, because Magda was like, G and I like to call Magda our godmother, because she was very close to both of us.
For sure. Big up to G Money, by the way. Big up to G Money. Huge respect to that guy. Yeah, he's a fucking real deal, man. Underrated, I must say, but in a good way. That he has got lots of massive exposure potential. This man, I'm telling
and
you.
Respect and professionalism.
Oh, of course, man. Of course, he's got not to steer away from what you're, but I mean that he has he's got all the tools in the toolbox to be funny, to be creative, to be amazing curator, to spin live vinyl, and then go back into Serato, but also spin his old promos that he had, and he's cool cat. Golfed with him, drank with him, been in his studio, we hung out, he's been on my podcast. I mean, he's a cool cat. Love this guy, and love his family, his wife and 2 girls. They're amazing.
He's good people.
He is amazing. Him and his brother. But with Juan G Money, amazing. But hey, listen, you had had a radio show with G on Energy 108, which was kind of cool. What year was that?
Oh God, I'm not going to tell you, even if I remembered. But it was too long ago. It was I think G had told me it was 20 years ago, and I was like,
holy crap,
God,
man!
Yikes! I don't
it's all good.
That.
No, it's all good.
But I remember when I was introduced to him too, and it was and G and I weren't as close as we are now. like
Mm.
back then in the radio thing, because he was the talent, like he was doing the music, right?
Right.
The,
Yep.
the show, the whole concept of Super Latin Hits, it aired on Sunday nights before Richard Correll's Live to Air.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole concept of it was to cross over the English speaking people into the Latin music world. What a freaking brilliant idea, though. No, seriously, David, again, that idea came from Magda. You
It
know?
did. The godmother.
Yes, exactly. She, like, again, you know what I mean? Like, she saw this as an opportunity and was like, okay,
Mm.
I need to get people on my team and do this, right? So she got
Right.
she got a bunch of people, she got myself and everything. And then boom, we did the show, and it was a hit, and it just grew from there because Energy 108, basically they embraced it because, number one, remember, it's bringing in more listeners, it's bringing in more money, and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And we're doing something good. We're actually introducing Latin music to the English speaking people. And remember, I'm Michelle, I don't speak Spanish, Hernandez. Right? So I was sort of, plopped into that role of,
right.
okay, so you're the, the gringa, so to speak, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And at the time it was fun and everything, but after a while, since we're talking about me, no, but
don't worry about it. I love it. Keep going with it, man.
But I mean, after a while, I needed to get out of that because it wasn't me. I loved it in the beginning because my thing has always been I like to make things grow. I like to, like, there's a need for me here. There's a I don't like sounding or coming across as the I don't know what this language is, I don't know what this music is, right? But it's freaking good and whatever, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And and it was fun at the time for me, but then I got to a point where it's like, okay, Michelle, who are you? What do you stand for? Forget all of the chatter. Forget the radio industry. Forget this, forget that. What does Michelle want? Who is Michelle? And I didn't want to lose myself either. Because again, like I said, even though I had this role to do and I did it very well, I did. I loved it. I put 110% of myself into it, right? On the weekends, I was still going to my goth clubs. I was into alternative music. I listened to Depeche Mode, The Cure, that kind of thing, right?
Of course.
So I was like, and Michelle, you seem to know more about that music, right? So what are you gonna do, girl? And that's when I had decided that, okay, you know what? Number one, I need to start making some money. So get out of the radio industry.
Yeah, you gotta live your life. You gotta live your life,
right? I want to be able to afford things.
Sure.
And I knew I didn't want to, even though I was on the air, I didn't want to be an on-air personality. So I decided to focus on my sales career and do business to business sales, because at least then, I'd still be helping business owners go from point A to point B.
Right.
But I ended up doing that for several years, and talk about burnout with sales, right? Because again, I'm the kind of person that I tend to put all of myself into something, right? Like, because I'm like, this is going to be big. I'm going to make this happen, and I'm on the team, so I'm going to, let's do this.
Yeah, you give it 110%. It's the way you are.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So I mean, it's not for everybody. There's people who are well seasoned in sales and the way they do their lingo, the way they speak and talk, the way they speak and sell and there's people who are getting into sales that they have no idea, and I don't know how you fall into that, but I know you can sell, so you're not into that, not knowing what it is, but it is tough because sales is about numbers only. And if you got to push and you don't make those numbers match and meet and exceed or, meet budget or whatever, it's crazy, man. It
really takes its toll. You've got to have And I did. I had a thick skin for a few years doing it, and I was
Hmm.
really good at it, but I've always prided myself in selling
Right.
with integrity. Like I don't like that used car salesman talk, or anything like
Right.
that. People can
Right.
smell it, it
Oh yeah, they know.
yeah, and I've always
They know.
been myself. And if you buy from me being myself, then I can sleep at night. Like
Right.
I
Of
have to
course.
believe in that product and believe that you're actually going to get benefit from it.
Yeah. No, I know. I know. And we are both sort of like workaholics.
Yeah.
We work we work because we are I'm going to say to me, I'm a workaholic. I've been bred that way. My father taught me, if you want things, if you want to provide and live or exceed that expectations and have a lot of luxury things, you have to work at it. But I worked I worked my ass off, being at 12 years old, and I was already starting to do shit, and getting more entrepreneurial side of the conversation. But I mean, it's like I was a workaholic. I worked. Yeah, I had friends and we went out and did all the things that, friends and groups did, whether it's good or bad. But, in the end, when it came to work and I had a career, had a job, I mean, I put 110% into it, and and obviously it's just the way we are, it's how we are.
I knew that about you before I even got to know you, and that's what attracted
Ooh,
me to you.
freaky.
No, well, I just knew, right? And I guess it's about, it takes one to know one kind of thing, right?
Sure.
And it's
Of
like,
course.
and I just knew that because I remember the first time that I ever reached out to you, I had seen some of the promotion that you were doing and some of the work that you were doing at the music scene. I just knew, like I was thinking, this guy really knows what he's doing. Like he's really tapped into it, and not just from an a-hole perspective,
Right.
a-hole, business perspective,
Right.
but your
Right.
passion is so obvious, and
Thank you.
that's one of the
Appreciate
things that,
that.
oh God, yeah. Like that's a very endearing quality about you,
Mm.
you know? And then after I started talking to you and getting to know you, I realized, yeah, man, this guy's an entrepreneur, 110%. But we're not talking about your, because people have different perceptions of entrepreneurs and
Sure.
everything. Like you just said, you grew up sort of like with this, work hard for what you have.
Right.
If you want it, you got to put something into it,
Yeah, of
right?
course. Of course.
And you're
Of
doing
course.
that, and you
Yeah,
do
thank you.
that.
And I continue to strive to do that. But then again, it's also a good and bad thing, because like I have talks with my buddy, and he is a great businessman, and I feed off of him on things. And he says, Dave, he says, and I'm going to go back a bit. My dad has always told me that if you can't make money in the 10 hours you're working on a job per day, then it's not worth it for you. Okay. Now, the way I took that is like, okay, in my 8 to 10 hours, and sometimes I'm there 12, 14 hours a day when, you're building your brand, right? So you're working hard at it all the hours you can. But he says, if you're not making money in the 8 to 10 hours that you're there, it is not for you. It's not what you got to do. So I'd always stuck to me. And, my dad was always an entrepreneur. He always, he was, but he's old school. He was a meat cutter. He's a butcher by trade. So he had small meat companies and butcher places. And then he got into supermarkets and then built that and then got rid of that. So he went on and on and on, rest in peace, God rest his soul. He passed away, but he's always been that person where it's like, like I love him because I think about him every day, and the fact that, A, why'd you leave? B, like great business side of things too. And I think about how he does things, but, I didn't want to veer off towards where we're talking about, but
No,
the
I think it's
entrepreneur,
great.
it's that saying stuck to me. And then, that really made a big difference to me on how I operated my business. Once it was sustainable, that I could just say, okay, you know what? if we're not doing it, if it's not working, why waste our time, right, to do that? So, and to go back to my buddy that I have talks with, he says, we are born and raised to go a fucking million miles an hour, go, 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 and just fucking, and then go to sleep, get up, go back to work. He's like, you just gotta just fucking just take it easy, relax. He's learned it in a much later time in his life, in his career, because he got out of the corporate business. He was a corporate machine, sales machine, this guy. Built sales brands for, like Molson's, Nike. Like, he was high up in that shit, right? So then he thought, that's it. Like, fuck it. I am done with fucking corporate. The corporate jail is what he called it. And I think he's going to probably get into his own podcast with that. So, I mean, Stevie, if you're listening, it's a great idea. Go for it. And I told him I'd help him out with it too. So, but anyways, he just says, we're so born and raised to go a million miles. He says, we just have to just fucking just slow down and just, yes, we got to work, but, let's just focus on, ourselves, because, as you know, mental health is a big, big problem, since the pandemic happened and pre and post. And it makes it is a big problem now because people are, A, getting burnt out at a young age. C, they're too scared to even start anything or to be involved in any businesses or just to go to work, for that matter. Like, I can't find anybody to come work for me. Anybody. It is so hard to find people to come work because this whole fucking shit that happened in the past 2 years has really changed people's mindsets about work, about putting your time, getting your hands dirty, because the money just came to them as they stayed at home. And they got used to that, right? So what I'm trying to tell you is that,
wow, that's naive.
Right. I'm trying to focus on, building the businesses and having fun with it. But, I have an 8 to 5 job. But then I also have a 5 to 9 job. Then I have a 9 to midnight job. Right. So, you got to set parameters and set time where it's okay. Here is what I'm going to focus on, this business till like 5 o'clock. And then that's it. Shut it down. Fucking leave it alone. Then, I have the 5 to 9, which is my hot sauce business. And, and then I stop that sometimes around 9 to 10 o'clock. And then from 10 till midnight, I'll focus on podcasts and music. I'll be in my studio and, you know how that goes with Twitch and all that sort of stuff and music. And so I separate that, because if I try to go everything all together, it's like it's just craziness, it's like madness. And then people say to me, well, do you really need to do all this, right? Do you need to do this? And I'm saying, well, it's not need to do it. It's like, I want to do it. I don't need the music business, but yet the music business makes me money, on weekends and with gigs and stuff like that. So yes, check, I can make money that way. And it doesn't take away from, most time my family, but
isn't that also something you love?
It's passion. You said the word passion.
Yeah.
The passion is there. The hot sauce business from 5 to 9. Do you really need? I said, yeah, because, we started a company. So I wanted to be part of that company. So yes, I am doing that. And that is building the brand. That's the most energy it's taken to create that brand. And I've got 3 other partners that are fucking spectacular in what they do. And we work together and we build that business. And then my 8 to 5 job is what actually makes my money, so I can, pay for shit and put kids through school. And my wife works and she's great. We all contribute. So it's just fantastic. But, to get back into that, we all have to set ourselves like, okay, we gotta focus on, ourselves too. It's because first and foremost, if you're not healthy about it, if your mind is not healthy about it, music, business, pleasure, it doesn't mean shit if you're not with it, if you're not healthy. You got to be in a good mindset for that. You have to be, you have to be. And we've all been there. We've been you can't tell me that you've never been down and out. You've never been like fucking sitting,
Exactly.
lying in bed like, what the fuck am I doing here right now? Like, I get that. I understand that, and I talk to my kids about it too, and I want them
Good.
aware that this is a serious thing, and I'm gonna plug a buddy of mine who's been on my podcast a couple times is Joey Drex, and he is a big mental health advocate, and he
Mm-hmm.
is awesome, and he's we got into it, and he started his own podcast, and basically it's that's a good cup of coffee is what it's called, and it's on Spotify. But Joey Drex and Rosalie Sheehan, they talk about life and all the things in between mental health and relationships and dreams and goals and health and wellness lessons lived. So they're really into that, and they talk about, and they're very new into this, but Joey's been really good with me, and we talk about certain things, and you need that. You got to talk to somebody like we are talking. You need to have someone to talk to about this shit, because it really makes a difference. And his podcast is growing, and I wish him nothing but the best. But that's a good cup of coffee. So it's all about mental health, and to go back into that mental health aspect that you and I talk about.
Yeah.
We just have to sort of rely and work with each other, that we positive people like you are positive. To me, I feel energy from you that I don't feel from other people, but doesn't mean I don't, and I try to stay away from people that shed a lot of negativity, because that's what you want to do, is get rid of that shit.
You have to.
Right?
My dad taught me that too. Yep.
You have to, and be with people, and feed off people that could help you, in your mind, your body, your soul, and business and ideas and creativity and that sort of stuff. And that's why I'm always hungry to learn from other people, and such as yourself, that you gravitate, you want to learn, you're hungry. How does he fucking do that? Or how does she do that? I want to do that. I want to do that. Right. And if you can talk about it and learn about it and focus and get it, it's going to happen, man. It's going to happen. You're going to get it.
And you're right about that. Surround yourself with like-minded people. Like my philosophy in life, and I made it up myself for myself, but is and like, ask any guy I've dated or any girlfriend I have, that it's true, because I'll always bring it up, is that it all boils down to what you value. Surround yourself with people that value similar things, because that's really going to help you grow and going to help you stay balanced. If you even relationships, you sometimes find out that, oh my God, this person doesn't value his word as much as I value my word.
Right.
Kind of, that's a huge thing. Again, boils down to values. What do you value? I value someone who says what they say they're going to do. I value someone who's honest with me,
Right.
That kind of stuff. So
of course,
the rest you kind of have to, it's noise. And my dad's favorite expression he always uses is zigzag it. You have to zigzag it.
Zigzag it.
It's true, right? You have to zigzag, man, a lot of situations.
Yeah,
especially in the industry.
Oh my God.
Zigzag it.
And when you say zigzag, you're going to start from here, and you're going to go this way, because that person is off a different direction. You can't go straight down the road. It's got to be all over. You're going to be all over the place, right? And I get it, man. I get it.
It's human nature, and it's who we are, and that's something that I've learned too with people, is that we can't control people. We can only control ourselves. And I can control if I'm going to be around you or not. So I can't control how you act. I can't control your behavior, and make it better for me, but I can control myself and remove myself from it. Right.
Exactly. And you have to do that to certain people. Like, you call the haters, or you call this and that. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's going to happen, right? Yeah. It's going to happen. And in the music industry, it is the increase in jealousy and envious, and and just the bullshit about it that's out there. People talk
So
about people,
stupid,
right?
right?
It is crazy. Like people say, "Oh, I don't judge people. I don't judge people." Like they're fucking talking
They're
bad
the
about
ones that
somebody.
are usually like the biggest ones.
Yes, I know. I know. It's crazy, you know? And like I see it on social media. I see about this, and this, and blah, 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 blah. Like I almost want to, even though that it does, you know, I'm a pros and con type of guy. So I waive all my options on Facebook. I'm like, I gotta get rid of this fucking thing because it is like but then again, it's like it does pretty good for me in the social side for music and
Yes.
podcasts. But then again, you know, that little bit of percentage where it's like I'm looking at this and it's fucking depressing. Like I don't care about that you've got the sniffles and you're gonna stay at work. Like I don't give a shit. You
Dave.
know, right? Like I don't care. I don't know why it comes through my feed. Like I wish I can, you know, tune out all that shit, right? So you know what I'm talking about, right? I just,
I do, but
you know,
I do. It's true because the thing is that we can all relate to that, right?
I
And
know.
that's what makes it funny because it's like, yeah, we see it. I'm a little more kind about it because I'm like, like everybody is entitled to, their own opinion and entitled to their own look.
Right.
If you feel something, say it. I don't have to
Yeah,
read
man.
it.
Exactly.
Kind
Exactly.
of
No,
thing.
I know. And you experience it in your, you know, in your promoting and your promotions. I mean, I know you see it and you feel it and it's like, you know, this person is whatever. And I'm gonna have a good time either way. And you know, you're really heavily in the music industry, which is great. You try to support all the DJs that you can at clubs, at bars that now that they're starting to open and
Finally
trickle open,
open,
right?
yes.
You know, it's in man, it's like I like it. I mean, we went to the Wiggle Room and I saw you there. You know,
Yeah.
supporting G and
Oh, Tricky was that was
yeah,
the Saliva Commandos thing, the Paul Fano event.
right. That I'm crazy that you know that Civil Commando couldn't make it up because of COVID. But you know what? He was a cool cat on the podcast. He was great. I loved him.
Mm.
He had an awesome story. But anyways, to go back to it, it's like I'm always and we're always trying to support the music industry and again the entrepreneur side of things come through because not because I go and I'm watching the DJ and trying to figure out his new moves and stuff like that. I could care less about that. I could
I
care
hear
less,
you.
right?
Exactly.
I can
Exactly.
feel that if I'm feeling the music, then I'm loving it. Then what I do is I look around and I'm like, okay, I wonder how much this costs to rent, and
I love that about
if
you.
you
Yeah.
know if I charge this much at the door and tickets, you know, this could make money. And no, like I'm always fucking, it's always going through my head. So that's why I'm always standing around. I'm thinking about, and I'm probably people think, what this guy doing, staring at the DJ and that sort of stuff, you know, right? So I'm one of those guys that just look and how to and think, how can I make this happen, right? Or how are they making it happen?
Yeah.
That's the way I look
That's
at it.
you're the guy in the bar who I'm like, okay, I want to get to know him because he looks like he actually is thinking about
Right.
stuff, and I want to
And not
know.
stalking and not
Yeah.
stalking at people, right? It's
You know,
true.
well, you made a good point too when you were talking about Steve, and I want to meet Steve one day because I love his story about kicking the corporate to the
Yeah.
curb basically, and I can relate to that.
Mhm.
And when I got into the Twitch thing, I got into it because I wanted to get back in touch with working with artists and music. And it was when the pandemic had happened. And and I I'd gone through a breakup before the pandemic started, like when it was going on and
Right.
everything. And it was again one of those, Michelle, what do you want? Where are you going? Right? I always have those conversations with myself.
Sure. Absolutely.
Only child syndrome, I guess,
So
and it's like,
Michelle, I don't speak Spanish.
yeah,
Hernandez talking to himself
exactly.
again.
Exactly. So where are you going? What do you need in your life right now?
Right.
Well, and I started going on Twitch and listening to the DJs and stuff and going, holy crap. And like you, when you're at a bar or a club, right? You're
Right.
going, how do they do that? What are they doing? So how are they
Yeah.
promoting it? Those are the immediate questions that come into my mind, right? Is like, and can I do that for them? And what is, how can I help? How can I help? How can I help? You
Right.
know, kind of thing. And the reason why I want to help too is because I've always been about freaking lifting up the artists. Like I
Right.
those are the people that I want to lift up the most,
Yeah. Yeah.
And number two, for my own selfish reasons, for my mental health, because working with DJs and music reminds me of the good times of radio. And that always, my friends who have known me for a really long time would tell me, Michelle, whenever you talk about radio, you light up. And I'm like, no, that was years ago. I don't want to go back to that industry again. No. I don't want to be told what to do, who I can talk to, and
Mhm.
who I can't talk to. No. Right? Because
Right.
those are the parts that I hated about it. Right? and and then be like, yeah, but there's something there because you really do still light up.
Right.
And I didn't realize that until a couple of my close friends did bring that to my attention. I'm like, yeah, I guess I do actually feel it still, right? And when I started seeing the DJs on again, I was thinking, you know what? I could have been shy, and I could have been like, they don't know who I am, kind of thing, right?
True. I know exactly. I know exactly.
100%, because there are some
Yeah.
people that will still, like still say, "And she hasn't been in this scene for that long. Da, da, da. Who cares? Screw you."
Right.
Because it's not about that. Like it's so not about that. It's one of the triggers for me, because it's like God, that's why you're not in my circle, because
Right.
I don't want to be around people with that mentality.
Absolutely.
But
Mhm.
but yeah, I needed to get back in touch with things that made me happy and passionate, and music and DJs have always been there since, like I said, like since I was a teenager.
Mhm.
And so I was like, okay, I want to help them. So I started helping, Carl Allen with modding, and I started
Mhm.
helping, Tricky with modding, and I started help,
Mhm.
you know, and the thing is I didn't even have a freaking clue who these people were. I've seriously, no, it's funny now because, and it's funny too, because I would go to events and stuff, and people would be like, "Do you know who that is?" I'm like,
Mhm.
"No, no, I just know that
No, it's
they're
true.
really freaking talented,
Right. And when you
and
went,
I
you
can
talk,
help them."
and you're talking about modding, so it's moderating. So people who don't know what moderating is on a Twitch site, like, so just explain, just tell people, like, so you basically contacted, contacted the DJs, and Twitch basically has like a chat room where you can, chat away to the DJ, interact, and so forth. And you always have to have someone in there to mod the room or moderate the room so that
Keep
it doesn't get
the
out of hand.
energy alive.
Keep the energy
Keep
alive, the
the you
idiots out,
know keep
of course.
idiots out, yeah, and also just to be there, because when you think about it, and again, this is where my conceptual thinking comes into play, right?
Hmm.
Because for me, it's never been about oh, I'm a groupie or I'm a fangirl. I didn't even hear I never heard of the expression fangirl until a friend of mine, Mark, brought it up like over a year ago, and he was like, just whatever you do, don't be a fangirl, right? And I was like, what's that? Right? Oh,
It doesn't even sound
groupie.
good. It doesn't even sound good.
Right? Now I want to get a shirt just as a joke that says fangirl.
Or
you
it says,
know?
I'm not a fangirl, but
Right. Not a fangirl. Yeah. Well, and I remember in the beginning that was so critical for me, because I was like, because I'm very business minded, right? I'm very
Mhm,
marketing minded.
mhm.
And this industry, it's full of everybody. But yeah, modding is yeah, you're monitoring the chat, making sure nothing gets out of hand, like you said, keeping
Right.
the conversations alive, making people feel welcome when they come in, because it's the internet, right? And it's so, I mean, to make a long story short, it's crazy, and it's in such a good way how these moderators just, props to the moderators that are out there, because they really put a lot of freaking energy and
Mhm.
time into it, that a lot of people
Absolutely.
don't realize that
Right.
it is a lot of energy. It's
Sure.
like I relate it to being on the air, because when you're on the air, you're on. you
Right.
know
You're almost like a music programmer, music director, because it's like you said it. You need to, and half the time you're not even listening to the music or watching the DJ. You're just watching a chat room, and you're making sure the energy is uplifted and people and talking and bits and this and subs and blah blah. It's a big job, and especially when you have DJs that are popular, that have like multiple moderators that go in it, because they have like, let's say they have like 100,000 people, 100,000 followers, and they have like 5,000 people in that room, and you can't monitor or moderate 5,000 people from saying what they want to say. Like the scrolling goes
to every single person,
right, and the scrolling goes so fast on that fucking thing. It's like, I mean, I you know what? That's part of the reason why I wanted to, Twitch was is an excellent platform for live streaming without getting censored or anything, copyright infringement, through all those stupid programs they do, like Facebook, Instagram, that's a lot of places that just don't allow you to live stream music. And Twitch has been great because it's been a safe haven for a ton of DJs that were out of work, because when the pandemic hit, the clubs closed, the bars closed. So, and when they decided to get into the Twitch side of things, and, my direction for Twitch was not about to provide an income from it. It was more of a fun hobby thing for me that I wanted to do in my spare time. But I wanted to help other DJs get there by doing the online music festivals, creating the Life Lounge, and having DJs, come to the studio or do, I was always out for helping the other DJs as opposed to myself. I wasn't even looking for that avenue of revenue because that wasn't my decision. Mm-hmm. But I love the fact that that platform was there, that we can just, go there and do what we want to do at our own time, at our own leisure. And, to have people such as yourself that were modding these rooms were like perfect, because you'd be like right involved with certain people or the chat room and when I'm DJing and you'd come on because you mod one of my it's not a huge channel, but you're in there and you're interacting with people, and I'm playing music, and I love seeing that because it's like, okay, it saves me the time from going on the air during the song,
worrying about it and thinking about it,
right? Yeah. Or just like, cutting and like talking in a, like this great song's coming on, all of a sudden the DJ's coming on saying, "Hey, thanks for blah blah blah," this and that, right? Which is good, but I always loved just playing the music. No DJ, no voiceovers, nothing. Just have the mods take it all and have the people just listen to the music. And afterwards, or maybe in a transition where the beats are going a little longer, you can say, "Guys, fucking thanks for coming in, tuning in, blah, blah. Michelle Deeva, she's modding. Thank her, and blah, blah." It's great.
You can focus on what you're good at.
Right.
That's exactly what it boils down to. And that's what it's always been for me, working with artists. Because even a few years ago, I worked for a website that promoted visual artists. And and that's I worked in sales, but again, I consider myself more of a creative consultant. But that's what I would always tell artists. You need time to do what you're good at. Focus on what you're good at. Here's what I'm good at.
Sure.
And this is why you need me, or this is why you need my service or my product or whatever, right?
Of course.
So that you can focus on what you're good. I can't do what you do, and that's why you need those two. You need those two together.
You need a good team. You need a team, right? People that are, side by side, in sync with you.
Yeah.
You need that. I mean, there's great mods out there. I mean, like even with Arcadia, she mods, Melanie, and she mods Gene King's his stream, and so I get it. It's just like I'll pop into other streams like of the big name DJs, like for instance, like I really I love David Morales. I love the way he can mix his music, can produce his music, and has fun in his studio, just like Louis Vega. So, and I see all the mods in there and this and that, right? And even Rob the Boom perfect example of a great Canadian, and great Canadian house DJ, and he's taken the likes of David Morales on his
He's
show,
good
and
at what he does.
absolutely, he's branded himself like to the T. And I always talk to Rob in that way of saying, Rob, what you're doing is fantastic. Keep doing what you're doing, because this is amazing. I mean, I learned from what he does because he puts in the hours of hard work in that stream, the DJing, because the business side of that's his business, because the clubs were dead back then. And he made his living being a DJ, solely a DJ. So when that died, Twitch was a great platform from the start to pivot his business to that and rebrand. And he's fucking doing great. I mean, I'm like, I can just see the numbers in my head, what he's doing. And honestly, it's a lot of fun.
Possible for everyone. Yes. And that's what I always, that's where my passion comes from, right? Is that because it's that nurturing side too of me, is that
sure
anybody can do that. You just have to put the time in. You have to be dedicated. You have to be talented. Focus on what you're good at. And that's exactly what I had to do, in any side projects that I do. Michelle, what the freak are you good at?
Right.
What do you like and what are you good at? Now, I couldn't find a full-time job doing that, but so fine. I was like, freaking create your own thing then, and that's around that time that I started talking to you too, because we just immediately were in a synergy. It was like, yeah, I get you. And that's, that's where I'm coming from too. Yeah, 100%. Yep. So I've 100%. Always said to artists, focus on what you do well. And then get other people to help you. When I go and I watch a DJ play, oh my God, I'm so honestly, like, if I'm dating someone at the time, I think they get jealous because they're like, you just look at the DJ like he's freaking God, and it's true. I don't deny that because and it's not coming from a place of, oh, you're a DJ. Oh,
yeah.
It's coming from a place like, did you guys not hear that mix? Like, that was a smooth transition. Mm-hmm. Like, oh my God. Like, you got to be really good at what you do to get that crowd to still be dancing.
That exactly.
You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
And that kind of blows my mind. And I'm like, let me see it up close. I have to see it up close,
Well, you're always there. I see your pictures, your posts, your videos. You're always there.
I love talent.
It's talent that we never got to see. Like, I never got to see a lot of this talent pre-pandemic. Never went out there to do this. Knew a lot of DJs, and we were DJing, but to be out to the clubs and out to the bars and seeing the DJs actually play, I've seen more than I've ever seen pre-pandemic in these past 2 years. I've seen a lot, and I love it. Like, I was, well, it's, and it's like the music and the atmosphere, the vibe, the people that just go there, and it could be just, and don't get me wrong, I love, like, I mean, I'm really into soulful house, deep, and I'm in a nice chill house, and I love that. So like, I'll go to a lounge, and I'll see the DJ playing. He's playing great music, but no one's dancing. But it doesn't matter. You can feel the vibe as they're at their chair or their bar stool that they're fucking loving the music.
Yeah.
Buying more drinks, and they're talking to different people. That DJ can do his job in different ways, whether it's bringing people out on the dance floor or creating that vibe where people are just like loving the atmosphere and the vibe, and like, hey, what's your name? Oh, my name is Michelle. Oh, it's great. I'll just have a drink. Let's talk, whatever. Enjoy the fucking music's awesome. You don't have to be dancing. You could just
have that commonality, that
right. Right. So
like in the old days with the raves.
Oh my God. That brings back some crazy memories.
Minus the drugs and everything, but it was all about being there with the music and together. And I know it sounds so cheesy now, but it's like, we're here together. We're here for the same reason. I love that vibe.
Right. No, of course it is, and that's what it's about, the vibe. And when and like I said, the vibes can be different in every place you go to. I mean, I'll have my DJ Dave night every 2 months at my local bar, and my thing is about, I want people on the dance floor. So I'm a multi-genre, open format type of DJ when it comes to that, and I'll play for 4 or 5 hours of solid mixes of different genres, rock to Latin to house to old school to hip hop, and just to get everyone still dancing, right? That's where I love to be and see
And
myself, right? I love it. It's great.
Honestly,
I mean, I saw Gavin came out to the last one, and and he's from St. Catharines. I mean,
no, he lives in Burlington.
Where does he live? Burlington? Oh, fuck, close enough. I mean, still Burlington. Anyways, so he was talking to me and I can barely hear him when I'm fucking music's loud.
Yeah.
And I played like old Latin, and he's like, "Oh my God, I haven't heard this." And then I would go into a different remix or a mashup, and he was like, I'm sure I hope he had a good time, which I think he did, but just to see housey people that came to see me.
I'm sure he would let you know.
Right. And there was housey people that came from different parts of the town and cities that came and danced. They said, "Holy fuck, I'd never heard this song since high school," or what a great, the vibe was great. And that's what it's all about, the vibe. Grab a drink on the dance floor, start dancing, and it's fantastic, right? So just like the house crowd, there's great house music DJs that just keep the flow going, the vibe going, and just keep on dancing. And that's what I love to see DJs do that to people. You like to see that.
I love seeing it. Like that's why I like to watch DJs, is because I like, and it probably does stem from the radio days, right? Because when you're on,
right?
And that takes a lot of skill, and also, would you call that folk? A lot of skill and commitment.
Right.
Because when you're on, and like I see you when you're DJing, like I love seeing you guys happy. Like, you're so in your element. It's just so cute seeing you. Like, I know now I sound like a little mother, but I'm like,
No, but it's great because us DJs, we feel it. We're like in our own element, our own realm, our own zone, right? And it's we light up. It's like you talked about before. It's like, a conversation comes up, or you talk about something, you light up and you talk about it, like, because that passion is there. You love to do that. So I encourage people to, and if to go that direction, like if I talk to someone I don't know or that well, and we have a conversation about what they do for their business, and if I feel that they're not really into it, that they're not going to, that they're not enjoying it. But you see someone light up and they talk about, one question can lead into a 10-minute conversation. Then that that's a direction they want to go with, right? That they need to go with for their personal, well-being and the vibe and the positivity aspect of it. So lighting up, I love that. So
I think it's the other thing that you had mentioned that was really important too is that with the pandemic, like, people are they had to put their entrepreneurial hats on. How can I make this work for me? How can I make money? How can I this? How can I that? And those are the people that, like, you want to support 110%, because they're going out there and they're making it happen.
Right. Yep. 100%. They had to do that because they had to find ways to make a living, find ways to, to enjoy, or to keep them busy, to keep their headspace in a place where they should be. Right. And I tell you, this pandemic really did a number, and it's not, and I'm gonna have to say, it's not over yet for business wise. I don't know how we are all going to afford all these increases, what's going on now, because I don't understand, there's no reason other than control to break people in the sense of what's going on in this world, that prices have to be through the fucking roof. They're trying to make it so we cannot afford a thing, anything, gas, food, your mortgage, rent, or whatever it may be. And how are we supposed to work and not? So now we have to, as the prices increase, we have to increase our prices, and no one can afford anything. Like it can't work that way. And to me, it's like, and that's a totally different another topic that I don't want to get into, because it's just not a good headspace for me. Good
topic, though, yeah.
Very good topic, and it's not something that anyways, I mean, I'm sure that they're probably listening on some fucking thing. I'm sure they're going to shut down my internet. You never know, but it's happened before, man. I've to be honest, I brought in, so I had Steve that we're talking about on my podcast, and about corporate jail and this and that, and we talked about politics and about certain people that, and as soon as I went to go live, and I was doing live podcasts back then. As soon as we went to go live, my internet shut down. Like, it shut down. And I'm like, what the fuck? And sure enough, it was that little block pocket of my house area that in our street that it was just freaky how the timing was so right. And I do believe that, sometimes they could listen on this shit, so they could listen in, and whatever. But I have my opinions. I have and I'll never voice it without a mutual conversation with somebody about it. I will never go and just post about blah 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 blah. I'm not a rant guy like that. But if someone wants to talk about it, I'll express my feelings towards it. That's how I am.
Very well said.
Well, thanks. No, it's true though. I have to be. I'm not like that. I don't do that shit, right? So I don't know. I mean, it's fucking crazy out there. I listen to Joe Rogan's podcast all the time, and he moved to the States. I think he moved to Austin, Texas, I believe. And people have so much, like they think differently down there, like the gun laws, or the way they view COVID, the way they do this and that. Like, honestly, it's so different. They hate what's happening to our country, because Canada, to me, is one of the most beautiful country, the most sustainable economic country in the entire fucking planet. And it is single-handedly getting fucking destroyed by idiots. And it's making me think differently. Like, should I think about moving away from this country? Because it's unaffordable. I can't live here. I can't, I don't want to be controlled by some maniac. Are you crazy? There's no way I would ever live my life that way. Right. So to go back to Rogan, he talks about that constantly, and his podcasts are great for that purpose. And I learn a lot from what he says about it, which validates a lot of different things, whether it's good or bad. But anyways, that's a total separate thing, and I'd be more than happy to talk to you more about that side of things, and more about it, because I think it's great that we get into these conversations. And and this is great. I mean, I'd love to have more of these co-host conversations with you about music, entrepreneur, what's happening with our country, or just about men in itself and women and how we interact and this and that. Because it's like, there's a lot of things in your head that we could talk about. You're that
our
diva.
Minds are really, I think I keep thinking of, and you're right. I mean, there were a lot of negatives that came out of the pandemic, but there's also a lot of positives, like, I mean, so many positives, actually. Right. Like, just, a lot of us have opened up our minds more to, we've had to pull up our pants and, and just kind of be like, okay, let's get her done.
Absolutely. And I can definitely see I can definitely see things turning around to the old school ways, which I am all for it. I'm all for taking away, a lot of this digital bullshit that we've got going on here, whether it's digital currency, whether it's digital, just everything digital with phones and computers and so forth, and go back to just the fact that, analog, let's call somebody and talk to somebody, like we have this digital world of podcasting and video podcasting, which is great because we can combine both video and audio. But I would have conversations on the phone with buddies of mine for like, we're on an hour and a half right now. That we talk about like our next gig. What are we doing? What are we bringing? Blah, 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 this and that, so those days that I'm trying to get at, those days I think should come back. And kids, generations below us, Michelle, like I fucking they have no idea what we had in our lifetime, we had in growing up, like
and it wasn't that far along. It wasn't that too long ago,
and it wasn't that bad either. Like it wasn't that crazy. Like we didn't have to. Yes, evolving to the new technology was great, but we didn't have to do like fucking 5G bullshit and this and that and blah, like this. We should just stuck with certain things that was great instead of trying to overpower it so that it causes other damages in our lives, right? So anyways, I don't want to talk about that. I think the great banter we have, the conversations we have, I think it's great. I would also like to, even though we have these type of conversations, we bring in another guest, on board, because I can bring in, if we line up somebody else that, you and I are talking about, we line up somebody else that wants to come in, we'll bring that person into the feed, Steve or whoever it may be. Like Steve's great he's super knowledgeable of business and
that
entrepreneur
whole thing, really.
For sure. And he would talk a lot about the corporate side, and he's got a lot to talk about on the corporate side. So, which is great. The corporate industry is ruthless, cutthroat, relentless. It is dangerous. It is unhealthy. When it gets into the corporate side, when you get higher up, it just, your body gets like, it just lowers down to like, you're like, it's not worth it. It's not good for you, man. Anyways, but listen, I enjoyed this conversation. It's been fantastic. We talked offline on text. You're like, I've never been nervous like this before, and then it's like, like you don't have to be. It's just a conversation, right? There's no like, there's
no format, what you can and can't say, like on commercial radio.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? We can say shit, but I mean, I'm not big enough to be censored, so I really don't care. But
shit.
Yeah, and we don't, and I would never call out anybody, even though that the noisy chair is about being loud, and it's about being loud in good, positive ways too. So it's like, great things to talk about. You've been fantastic, and I appreciate you coming on board tonight and being a co-host, talking about anything. That's how amazing it is that we can just sit down and shoot the fat, and just talk about stuff and breeze through these things. And it's been fantastic. So, our podcasts are taped and they're aired on YouTube with a ton of networking solutions and platforms. All of these videos will be up on for video on demand on YouTube. Please follow the Noise Chair podcast on Spotify or YouTube. And we do this whenever we can. We have great people like Michelle Deeva. She's fantastic. And we will continue to reach out to her and talk to her. And she's got some great topics. We will bring it on about music, entrepreneur journeys. If she's got somebody like a great DJ that wants to come on board, we'll have a threesome, but on the virtual, on the podcast, which is great. So everybody, thank you so much for stopping by. Michelle, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Dave.
I hope you had a great time. Great chat with me and great chat with you. It's awesome. And thanks to everybody who stopped on by. And we will see you next time around. Take care.